my goodness. Hi, nice to meet you all. My name is Carolyn Tang Kmet. I'm an associate professor at Northwestern University, which is in the States, in case you can't already tell. And I'm here today to talk about emerging technology and the future of personalization. So we're going to go a little bit into biometric data, as well as where we think it might end up. We all know this, but marketing started with understanding who our customer was. Ever since the beginning of commerce, every shopkeeper wanted to know who their customer was, what they needed, and they wanted to be able to provide solutions. And this was driven not only with a desire to have a relationship with the customer, but also because they wanted profitability. So the core of marketing has always been the same since the beginning of commerce. What technology has done is it's really just added scale. For the longest time, what we've been doing is we've been personalizing based on very structured data. And by structured data, it's everything that we can just fit into rows and columns. All the customer data that we work with, all the customer IDs, all of the birth dates, all of the transactional data, all of the socio-demographic data that we have, that's all very structured customer data. And it all fits into the rows and the columns. And that enables us to personalize our greetings and our emails and our direct mail. It enables us to create custom promotions. It enables us to take a look at transactional history and create dynamically merchandised landing pages. And all of this personalization has been grounded in customer data, which is phenomenal because we want to know who our customers are. We want to know what makes each individual person different. But what's interesting is that in 1998, Amazon is like, wait a minute, that is creating a big, humongous computational strain, right? Because if I'm trying to understand one customer by going through my customer database and looking for other customers that might be similar, based on socioeconomic demographics, based on behavior, based on whatever other attributes there are, that is trying to find a lot of similarities between things that are actually not identical. And it was creating a huge computational strain. So at Amazon said, you know what if instead of looking at the person, I look at the item? And so if I'm taking a look at an item, all I have to do now is find all these other transactions that contain that same item. And instead of looking at an entire customer database, I've now narrowed that universe, boom, down to a much smaller subset of transactions that I can then look at in the entirety. And so that was something that we called item-based collaboration. That was done recently in 1998. And you know how Amazon is. I saw them over there. They move fast. The minute they got that patent, this was December 12th, 1998, zero personalization on the homepage. By January 25th, 1999, that's exactly when they started building personalization in personalized landing pages. So what did that provide them? By looking at the item, and this is not where we're ending, but by looking at the item, they achieve computational efficiency. They achieve scalability without having to sample. So without having to look at a sample set of data, they were now looking at a universe of data, which gave them a lot more accuracy in their recommendations, and they gave them a lot more higher, better quality recommendations. So that's kind of where that's where personalization started becoming more of a science. But they realized that they were missing something critical. And this is where the beauty comes in. When I ask my friend how they're feeling, and they say, I'm fine, I'm not listening just to what they're saying. There's a lot of other cues that I'm picking up on. I'm listening to the intonation of their voice. I'm looking at their facial expressions and their body language. I'm thinking about what their relationship is like at home. I'm thinking about how much they have on their plate at work. And all of those different things are also informing their response to me. And I'm taking into account how they're feeling and the context of their life. When you say, I'm fine, as a human with empathy, there are a lot more things about you that inform my interpretation and my analysis about your well-being. And Amazon, to this day, doesn't quite have that yet. I realize this, so this is a screenshot from earlier this month. And it's been an intense few months for me personally. I had a lot of deliverables that were just due, boom, all at the same time. And it was one of those nights where I was just like, you know what? I got them all done. It was all 100%, knocked them all out of the park. And I was just going to blow $200 US, and I don't know what the conversion rate is, where I was going to just blow money on myself and buy myself something frivolous, and that was going to be it. And I opened up my Amazon homepage, and I was like, there is nothing on here I want, because it was merchandise based on all my prior transactional history, on all my search behavior, which was intensely work and home related. I did not want to treat myself to a book on behavioral economics. I did not want to treat myself to a book about statistics. I did not want to treat myself to kitty litter or to medication for my senior dog. All of that stuff was relevant based on my prior search history, but it was not something frivolous. It had nothing to do with how I was feeling in that moment. And Amazon missed that purchase because it didn't understand me in my current state. It didn't understand my motivation at that particular moment. Amazon knows that they're missing this. So in 2018, they got a patent for a voice-based, a US patent, and the link's there. I'm sure they're looking for it elsewhere as well. They got a patent for a voice-based determination of physical and emotional characteristics of users. So what they're doing is, when you make a request to Alexa, they're doing the same thing that we do when we ask our friends how they're doing. They're listening to the intonation of your prompt. They're listening to your voice, and they're listening to things other than the words that are contained in your prompt. So they're thinking about what can Amazon detect from the sound of your voice, and what can they deduce. So, for example, if Alexa can hear that you're a little bit congested when you say, Alexa, what's the weather like today? Alexa can then say, oh, you're sounding a little stuffy. Oh no, that's got a different definition here in the UK. You're sounding a little congested. Can I set you up with a telehealth appointment? And maybe if you go and you get your telehealth appointment and the doctor prescribes you some medication, Amazon can then go ahead and fulfill that as well. So you know that Amazon was thinking about this because in 2018, that's when Amazon acquired PillPack, which was the pharmaceutical solution to this. And then in 2023, they acquired in the States One Medical, which is a network of medical telehealth offices. But then, there's still something missing. And I don't know if you have this saying here, but in the US we have a saying called, hold my beer. And so Spotify turned to Amazon, and Spotify basically said, hold my beer, because there is something you missed. Spotify plays music based on your context. And so if you say, Spotify, I'm feeling beachy, please play the Beach Boys, or please play something beachy. Spotify is listening to the ambient noise around you beyond your request. So Spotify is listening beyond what you say and beyond the intonation of your voice and beyond what you're feeling and listening to the environment that you're in. So Spotify can tell if you're alone or if you're with friends. Spotify can tell if you are commuting to work in your car or on the tube. Spotify is able to really distinguish where you are in the physical space. And when you think about these two things that Amazon and Spotify are doing, these are characteristics that distinguish us as human beings. When we have this discussion about what is it that distinguishes us from AI, these are elements of life that are completely distinct that AI will never experience. You cannot code a moment in life into AI. You can create a fictional existence, but AI is not going to have that moment of existence. And so when we talk about vital markers of existence, this is where we need to start thinking about personalization. So Spotify also has the patent on this as well, and this came out as recently as 2021. When I think about things that I want to know right now, when I have a conversation with my 10-year-old daughter, and I say, how was school? And she tells me, I can read it in her face and her body language, and I can understand how she's doing. When I tell her to do something, I can see what her attention level is and how much she's paying attention to me. When I give a lecture at my university, or when I give a talk like this, I don't know when I lose you. I don't know when I'm saying something and you're like, God, what do I have to have for dinner tonight? Did I remember to defraud like the ground beef? I don't know that. But the data that tells me the level of interest exists right now and is currently being captured. I simply don't have access to it. Heart rate variability. When you're thinking, when something interests you, your heart rate variability decreases. And I guarantee you that a great percentage of you are wearing some sort of wearable technology that tracks your heart rate. Our respiratory rate, when we're thinking, that also decreases. And again, you're probably wearing something that tracks that as well. Pupil dilation, facial expressions, eye movements, all of that can be captured, tracked, and measured if we were using cameras. Data has existed since the beginning of time. Data has existed since we've existed. The only thing that's changed now, the only thing that's changed in this entire show is now we just have the technology to capture that data. The data's been around forever, but now that we have the ability to capture that data, we should be using that data, and we should be making decisions based on that. We should be thinking about how can we get that. And so that's kind of the basis of what I want us as an industry to start thinking about, is beyond the columns are this way, beyond the columns and beyond the rows, and start thinking about the greater picture of what is it that makes us human and how can we personalize it, because personalization should be about persons, what makes us persons. So the way that my colleague and I created a very, very simple framework, because that's what academics are all about. I'm originally from industry, so I got to dumb it down for the academics. But for data, we say that data is the data that differentiates between unique instances of individuals. So it's our customer IDs, it's our birth dates, it's our transactional history, it's our attributes, it's our preferences, it's our addresses, et cetera. It's the stuff that goes into your rows and our columns. Context is what differentiates individuals across distinct moments in time. It's who you're with at what point. It's why you're doing what you're doing. It's where you are. It's the intent, it's the motive. And this data is so ephemeral. We don't know how long that need or that desire is going to last. But imagine if you could understand it, how valuable that is. Imagine if Amazon understood that I wanted to blow $200 on something that was totally frivolous. That was a lost transaction. I went somewhere else and I spent it. But there's also receptivity, and this is the marketer's big challenge, right? Receptivity is a measure of the individual's willingness to participate in the personalization, the individual's willingness to share that data. How willing are you to share your heart rate variability with me? All of you are like, oh, big cringe, right? But I'm here to show you there's always going to be an ick factor. When we think to the very beginning of e-commerce, I was using my mother as an example, and she loves it when I do that. When e-commerce first happened, my mom was like, I am not giving anybody my credit card information. I don't even give you my credit card information. And now, you know, she hits the number 5 on the computer and boom, her credit card number pops up. She has it on her phone and she just goes and she clicks it everywhere on her phone. Our credit card, the adoption rate of the acceptance rate of being able to have our credit card number everywhere, it gradually got accepted. In the UK, in 2006, online shopping was only 3% of retail sales. By 2024, online shopping was 27% of the UK sales. So these numbers are actually from the UK Office for National Statistics. In my personal opinion, that sounds a little bit low. But if the UK is anything like the US, in the US there's a question, and it says, have you done any online shopping in the past year? And your taxes are based perhaps a little bit on your response. And so everybody's like, no, I haven't bought anything online. So of course your response rates are going to be a little bit low. Anyway, so that's, I don't know how accurate it is, but you can see that it took a while for adoption to happen. Customers were also skeptical about retargeting. Initially, customers were like, I'm being followed around by Big Brother. Somebody is watching me as I go from site to site, and I don't like that. But as recently as 2019, we see that retargeting works. There wouldn't be as many companies here that specialize in retargeting if it didn't work. As recently as 2019, we've shown that there was a 15% increase in the number of consumers who returned after seeing a retargeted ad. So how do we achieve that receptivity? That's the piece we got to work on. Data transparency, and you all are leading that. Authenticity. With authenticity, there's a lot happening right now where everybody says, we gotta have AI, we gotta have AI, we gotta do AI. But that's not authenticity. That's chasing after AI for the sake of having AI. If we're chasing after AI because we have a customer need that needs to be solved, that's the right approach. Everything still has to be centered around the customer. We have a need that needs to be solved, and that's why we make the investment. And we have to rely on the fact that there is a gradual acceptance. Gradual acceptance has gotten a lot speedier. When we look at smart speaker adoption, in 2016, in the UK, there was only 1.4% penetration of smart speakers, and that's not just Alexa, that's any smart speaker. 3 years later, we had 21% adoption within the UK, and we've got other countries up there as well, and you can see how sharp that spike was within just 3 years. And when you think about a technology like Alexa, that was a very, very gradual development. First, Alexa could only do very passive playback of information. She could only tell you what the weather was like, what the traffic was like. She could only give you news. I love the fact that I call her a she. By 2018, she had a camera. And with a camera, that means that she had the ability to get both audio and visual data. A year later, and think about it now, she managed thermostats, light bulbs, dog and cat feeders, televisions, significant others. She's like managing your entire household. And I thought about this on the flight over here. I was like, I have Alexa in my dining room, in my kitchen, in my bedroom, in my bathroom. I'm like, Alexa is with me when my husband is not with me. I'm like, I might have a better relationship with her because she has way more data. She knows what I want. I'm like, what do I need a husband for? So where we think that this might be going is I think that AI might be helping, and I think AI might be changing our emphasis on user experience. I think AI has a potential to do that. Because think about this. We are using technology to enable self-service. But how many steps do you have to take when you want to transfer money out of one account into another? When I want to transfer $100 out of my checking account into my daughter's college savings account, I have to log in, I have to navigate to my checking account, I have to select transfer, I have to select the recipient, I have to type in the amount, I have to enter the date, I have to confirm it, and I have to go through all of these steps. When in actuality, my prompt is, transfer $100 from checking to savings on the 15th. I said it once. I shouldn't have to go through all those multiple steps in an interface, possibly multiple interfaces, to make that happen. With AI, I should be able to do all of that seamlessly. I should be able to use biometrics to recognize my voice, to recognize whether I'm under duress, to recognize whether or not it's a common situation that occurs on a regular basis, and find trends, to transfer $100 from my checking to my college savings account on the 15th. I shouldn't even have to specify all that stuff, and it should just happen. Maybe there's a confirmation thing built in. So what could potentially happen from this is perhaps that user interface that we're dealing with, Chase, Citibank, whatever banks there are out there, maybe that user interface becomes secondary, and instead of it being someplace where the user is actively doing something, it serves simply as a reference. In which case, maybe our banks are no longer competing on our platforms, and it goes back to the very beginning where we start competing again on service, where we start innovating on service, on how can we serve our customers better, how well do we know our customers, and how can we help our customers, how do we understand our customers in the moment. I think we spend so much time taking a look at our data and trying to understand the past and trying to predict the future that we've actually neglected to figure out the now. So what is going on like right now, in your life right now. I can predict what you're going to need tomorrow. I know what you've needed in the past, but I literally don't know how you're feeling right this very moment. And I think that piece of it is a challenge that we're facing today. So that's what I have for you today. If you have any questions, I will be around. Also, the other thing, I'm not buying anything because I'm with the university, and as such, I have no money. But if any of you would like to guest lecture the next generation of marketers, either virtually or in person, I would love to meet you, and so would my students. Thank you very much.